Morning all, this is another episode in Under the Spotlight where I look at a manager's season and how he's trending. So this is, I won't pronounce his name, this is a French guy and I wouldn't know how to say it, I'll only say it wrong. So this is his team so far. Well, let's look at his game week history. He's nearly had a top 1000 finish, and in 2016-17, mixed bag. I reckon he's a bit of a gambler, this character. These are the sort of people I want, you know, so we'll have a look and see how we can improve his play if we can. So he started off very well, 39k, high point of 30k this season. He's a mixed bag, he's been hovering, and then game week 10 that we just had, he got absolutely smashed. We'll have a look at that later, because he got absolutely walloped. He only got 32 when most of us are getting like 70 or 80. So he's lost about 50, you know, he's lost 300,000 places in the 1 week. So that's going to be the key week that we're going to have to look at, isn't it, and see why and what happened to him. Because he's not going to be happy this week, is he? So he started off, he had an absolutely blinding start. Now I suspect, yeah, look, we're looking at our team with no Salah. This is why. He started without Salah. He's been brave. And this is what I think, he's a bit of a gambler, I think. So he's been brave and he's captained Mane. And he's got a right result there. Brilliant start for him. 32 points from his captain. Because he hasn't got Salah, he's put in a top-notch defence and they've all come good. He's got a strong midfield, although the ones he chose turned out not to be too brilliant, as it turned out. And he's got a very expensive strike force, because he can do that because he doesn't have Salah. So he's, you know, Morata was tipped by a few to have a good season, you know, new manager and everything, and so he's also left 12 on the bench. Now we can see he follows Twitter, because he's got a complete Twitter template bench with Peltier, Wan-Bissaka and Stevens, so he knows the theory to leave minimum expenditure on his bench and everything, so he's clearly no beginner, but he's not afraid to take a gamble. So we had another good game week in game week 2, I think. He got another 90 points. He hasn't made a transfer yet. And went from Mane captain onto Aguero captain, and he's off to a real flyer. He's got a few. Mahrez and Jota I had those two as well at the start, and although in hindsight I shouldn't have done this, and neither should he, because Jota broke one of my rules about not bringing in players that aren't Premiership proven. I was keen to get him. There was a lot of hype around Jota pre-season, and I made the mistake of bringing him in. It was a mistake in hindsight, because he didn't fit the criteria, and neither did Mahrez, because Mahrez was at a new club. And as we did see this season, he's playing really brilliant now, but the first 3 or 4 game weeks it took him time to adjust, didn't it? And so in hindsight, we shouldn't have been bringing those players in. You could possibly say the same about Lacazette, because they had a new manager and we weren't sure about him, because we didn't even know whether he'd be starting or Aubameyang would be starting. There was a lot up in the air over that. So those 3 picks in hindsight, and you could probably include Morata as well. New manager, weren't sure because he hadn't been that great the season before. So this is what I'll be trying to remember for next season, is not to bring any players that are new to the Premiership, not bringing them in straight away. Watch out, you know, watch, because I made a similar. I didn't have as good a start as this though, because I had Salah in my team. Whereas this guy's made an absolute flyer. So he's up to 30k after 2 game weeks, you know, that's fantastic. So we'll follow on and see if he did get Salah in. He didn't. He captained Aguero the following week. I think that week we all captained Salah at home and got 16. So that would be the first week where he suffered a little bit. And his midfield has had an absolute shocker. Absolute shocker. He's made 3 transfers, because he didn't make any of the first weeks. He's done a mini wild card, and he's taken out Lacazette, taken out Jota, taken out Peltier. Now there are 3 of the players that I mentioned before that probably shouldn't have been there in the first place, along with Mahrez, who only got 1 point that week. Richarlison was sent off. He's bought Alonso in, so he's got all this money for not having Salah. But again, nothing sparked up. He's had an absolutely awful week. Nearly 4.5 million game week ranks. So he's gone from 30k and now he's back in the pack. back in about 100k or wherever he is. So he's taken Mahrez out, a bit like myself. But then again, he's brought in another kind of not proven FPL player in Lucas Moura. He's not totally proven. He's brought Ings in, was looking good at Southampton, but he's benched him. And he's missed out on his 8 points, and he got 0 for Wan-Bissaka. I think a lot of people did that this week. So he's having a bit of bad luck. And he's brought David Silva in as well. Didn't do anything. Captain Aguero. So we'll quickly go through these because I want to have a look at this game week 10. It looks quite... He's still going without Salah. Got 11 points for David Silva, so that was a bit of a differential. So he's done well there. So these next few weeks, he's kind of hovered. He hasn't gone up or down much, really. He's just kind of treading water. But his midfield has been doing nothing for him. And you'd think with all that Salah money, that was the problem, wouldn't it? People who didn't have Salah, because I was looking at getting rid of Salah, but who would you get? Hazard's the obvious one. And for someone without Salah, you'd think they would have Hazard in their team. But he's obviously got so much tied up in this defence that he couldn't afford to. But he's got rid of Morata now, and he's got Ings in, so maybe he's planning to bring Hazard in. But I think these are the weeks when Hazard got all his points. He's got Doherty in now, so he's obviously looking at... So yeah, he's obviously looking to free up money, perhaps. He's got another week with midfield. Look, 1-3, 1-3. He's got Lukaku in now, so which also didn't turn out well. So he got Lukaku in for Lacazette or Morata. So he's avoided all the cheap ones, same as I did. Because I think if you don't have Salah, then you've got lots of money, so you're not going to be getting the cheap strikers, are you? You're going to be getting the expensive ones, but they just haven't worked this season. So people who avoided Salah have really struggled, I think, to know what to spend the money on, which is probably why a lot of people have been getting him back. Because that's the main reason I didn't get rid of Salah, was because who do you get, you know? Because you want the cheap strikers and that anyway. He's took another hit. He's not averse to taking a few hits. Now, game week 8, he's played his wild card. And he's finally got Hazard in. No, he still hasn't got Salah, though. Oh, my goodness. He's taken a massive gamble. So this is a week where Kane played Cardiff, and he wild-carded, but he didn't bother getting Kane in, which, as it turned out, worked out for him. But he also didn't captain Hazard. He captained Lacazette. Now, you can't complain too much, because this has paid off for him, captaining Lacazette. Well, he would have got a couple more points captaining Hazard, which is what most people were doing. So he took a big gamble, but he hasn't been punished for it. So he's taken a gamble and not been punished. That's what I take from this. But you can't keep doing this. That's the problem. I see a lot of people doing this. So what's happened here? Ah, okay. This is a bad game week 9 when a lot of us suffered. Like, I think 42 was about the average, 44. But he's only got 35. Because Salah did get a few points this week, and he still hasn't got Salah, and he's not taking advantage of having all this extra money. It's just not working for him. He captained Sterling, didn't work. He's vice captain on Lacazette. So he got the minimum. I think we all got 16 points for Salah, all of those have got him. And now we get up to the game week 10. Now, this is where he gets absolutely found out, because what's happened here, you can only go to the well so long by ignoring the top captain choices. He got away with it. He ignored Kane, didn't captain Hazard, went for Lacazette before and got a massive score. But this week, when most of us are getting 70, 80 points, he's got 32, which is absolutely a disaster for him. He's gone from 160k all the way out to 500,000. He's done the opposite of what I've done this week, actually. We've kind of swapped places in the one game week. All his earlier work's been undone by this week, because you can only, like I said, you can only take these gambles for so long. It'll work in the short term, but in the long term it's not going to work. If he keeps playing like this, he's going to be in trouble, because You can't, you know, he's used his wild card now and he didn't get Salah in. Okay, 3 of his top Johns didn't turn up, but everyone had that trouble. Well, a lot of people had that trouble. But most of them got 30 odd points from Salah, didn't they? I forget what he got now. I think it was 30 when he got 15. So most people got 30 points from Salah. And this guy got 4 from Lacazette. And also, he's lost Mane somewhere. He obviously took Mane out on his wild card, which is understandable because he had done nothing since those early weeks. So he got rid of Mane. But by getting rid of Mane, he left himself with very little captain choices. Most people would have captained Hazard probably, but he didn't do that. He captained Lacazette. But even if he had captained Hazard, it wouldn't have made any difference because Hazard didn't play. So he really has. He's lost 300,000 places in the 1 week. So it's been a bit of a disaster for him. And I think what it can all boil down to, it does in this case, is not picking the top of the captain poll. That's all it's cost him. He's got away with it a few weeks. Like he captained Lacazette a few weeks ago, it worked. You know, he looked really good. But then he's done it again and again, and it's not worked. So when it fails, it can be so costly because nearly everyone else is on Salah or Mane. And it just shows what the damage can be done. You know, it can be really extreme. And I've seen this with a few people. They'll ignore Aguero, they ignore Kane, they ignore, you know, some weeks they think they're clever because they've got away with it. You know, even Kane against Cardiff, people smug because they didn't get him, but this is what can happen, you know. Sooner or later, it will. You'll avoid these people, and sooner or later one of them will score 3 or 4 goals on one of these weeks. And that's what can happen. You can look pretty good when it pays off, but as soon as it fails, it can send you into the stratosphere rank-wise. So he's gone out to, he's 500,000 now. He's used his wild card. And his team, so I've got to give him some advice now on what to do going forward. Well, I think what he's got to do, really now, is get Salah. I think he will. He'll get Salah in, because he's going to have to, because they've got Fulham in 2 weeks. And what's he going to do then? Maybe he doesn't have to get Salah this week. He can wait for the Fulham game. Because I think Hazard's back this week. Lacazette's got a tough fixture. So I think he needs to start. He's bought Vardy in, which is good. So they've got good fixtures. So he has been buying people with good fixtures. He's got an Arnautovic. He's got Zabaleta. Mendy. So he's got people that are in demand. So he's not totally all at sea. So what he has to do now is not panic. So he needs an orderly... It'll be easy to panic after what's happened to him. I don't think he should. So I think he's got a reasonable team this week. Maddison, Richarlison, Sterling. Yeah, he's doing all right. So what I think he should do is not get Salah this week. And who would he captain? He'd probably captain Hazard or Aguero. Oh, he hasn't got Aguero, has he? So he hasn't even got Aguero. So he's taken Aguero out as well. Oh, blimey! He really has gone to the well in terms of taking risks. So should he get Aguero? Well, he's gone Sterling instead. So he's got Sterling in, who looked pretty. Actually, I think he should. He's gone this far with his gambles. He might as well take one more, I think. And either captain Sterling or captain Hazard. I think Hazard's second on the captain poll, isn't he? But home to Southampton. I don't know who would captain there. It's a tricky one. But he won't probably go his own way anyway. But I think after next week, he really needs to get Salah in and stabilise things. Because otherwise, it looks like he's going on without a plan. And you really do need Salah for that Fulham game. So I don't know how he's going to go about it. Probably Sterling, I suspect. Depending on how he does this week. Sterling and Lacazette, I would suggest. Change them to afford Salah, basically. This week he looks fine. I don't know what he's going to do this week. He might not even need to make a transfer. He's got Mendy, Robertson. He seems to have lost Doherty somewhere as well. He had Doherty a few weeks ago. So he's been very chopping and changing. A lot of people have come and gone in this team. As you saw last week, FPL Virgin had done very little. I think he'd only made about 8 or 9 transfers the entire season. Whereas this one, it's lots of comings and goings. But like I said, he's all right for this week. But he really has to sort himself out. Anyway, I think that's the key takeout from this one, is that ignore the captain poll at your peril, basically. Because he's been picking decent players, but he hasn't had the important, he didn't have Salah when he was needed. And he really was needed this week. Or at least if he wasn't, then you had to have Mane. You had to have one of them. Although Mane could have come across. I mean, Mane owners too. I'll just say this, because people who bought Mane instead of Salah this week, they did as well as Salah, and they're very pleased with themselves. But he could have easily been benched for Shaqiri, just like all these other players were benched this week. And then they would have been going out 300,000 as well, so they can count themselves lucky, I think. But anyway, that's it for this week, and I'll be back with another one next week. I hope you found that interesting, looking at another player's team. And I'll see you all next week. Okay, cheers.